And at the same time, we're going to young families, first-time buyers here in Brampton, across the country, and saying we are removing GST on new homes. So when you add that together...
Hold on. Just give me 1 second. 'Cause I said I've been listening to Pierre's speeches.
I'm announcing that a new Conservative government will put Canada first by taking GST, the federal sales tax, off of all homes under $1.3 million. We will axe the tax so that every Canadian can buy a new home tax-free.
Are they cheating off each other? Somebody's cheating off of someone's test. Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, he's been on the campaign trail, and I haven't really had a chance to listen to any of his speeches. I mean, I know Pierre's been on the campaign trail as well. I've already watched him speak a couple of times, and I don't expect the messaging to change. So listening to this now with Mark, I kind of just want to get to the question and answer part, because that's normally where you get some pushback. There was one particular article that kind of got me curious on something that he said. It was about a gun buyback.
Nous partageons tous. Canadians believe, in fact, our country is founded on peace, order, and security. Its promotion is the core responsibility of good government. My government will do its utmost to fulfill that mission. But ultimately, safe communities come from within, from who we are and how we treat each other. It's not the Canadian way to stoke fear, anger, and division. It's not the Canadian way to point fingers at each other. The Canadian way, our way, is to come together, to solve problems and to look out for each other. That's how we build communities that are safe, secure, and strong. That's how we make Canada secure. And that's how we will make Canada strong. Merci. Thank you very much. I look forward to it.
We'll take questions from the delegation first before moving on to local media. First question, Karina.
What was that noise?
Short, but I'll just go on my tiptoes. Karina Roman, CBC News. The European Union has paused its retaliatory tariffs. Howard Lutnick has warned Canada to learn lessons from China's retaliation. What do you need to see in order to remove Canada's counter tariffs?
Well, first thing, I'll say a couple of things, if I may. First, it was welcome, the President's pause on reciprocal tariffs, as you know, but just for clarity for everyone. That didn't specifically apply to Canada. We didn't have reciprocal tariffs on, but the pause applied to most other countries in the world, with the exception of China. I spoke with President von der Leyen earlier today, had an exchange. I understand their decision to have developed countermeasures, but to delay the implementation pending negotiations. We've had very direct and frequent conversations with the United States officials, myself with the President, Minister LeBlanc with his counterpart, Secretary Lutnick. I think they understand our position. We have been subject to a series of direct tariffs that are still in place with respect to steel and aluminum, with automobiles, and of course I will call them the fentanyl tariffs that are in place. Key point is that we have agreed to begin negotiations between the Prime Minister and the President immediately following the election, and we will ensure that the ground for those negotiations is constructive while we stand firm with our workers, protecting our workers, and building this economy.
Would have been more powerful if you said myself and the President after the election. Almost would have sounded like you were declaring victory. Hey, you missed that one.
En français, je viens d'avoir une bonne...
I know someone's been helping him work on his French, because you have to. You're the Prime Minister of Canada, for goodness sake. But now I have to ask that question because they have a debate coming up April 16th and 17th, and I believe April 16th is the French debate. So it makes me start to question that if he were to participate in that French debate, how well would he actually hold up against someone like Pierre? Because this is a two-person race. Don't get it twisted. I know they've been saying that Mark Carney's French is a little bit rough, and that's putting it kind of nicely. They were talking about it even on CTV, where he only has a week to make sure that his French is in order. Because if you go up against someone like Pierre, who already in English, the man can hold his own in the debate. I've watched Pierre in debates before. That guy's a savage.
While the Prime Minister has sent inflation for gas, heat, and groceries soaring, there is one product that's actually come down in price: powerful opioids. The Prime Minister has spent $100 million on so-called safe supply. One Global News reporter went into the street to find out where all these drugs are going. Turns out they're being resold to other addicts in order to raise the money to buy deadly fentanyl. Prime Minister's Arrive scam is now flailing out of control. Today, revelations from a Joël Denis Bellevance that one Arrive scan company received $250 million in contracts. Let's get this straight. It's a company with 4 employees, headquartered in the basement of a tiny cottage. They got IT contracts even though they admit they do no IT work. $250 million? WT.
Glasses Pierre flourishes best when he has an opposition, so no two ways about it. In this debate, you're basically entering into Pierre's sweet spot. Arguing is his thing. Now imagine having to do that in a language that you're already struggling in, that he's fluent in.
Huge gap, or what was a huge gap, between the Liberals and the Conservatives, and again, Mark Carney way ahead of Pierre Poilievre in terms of preferred Prime Minister. And they point out to, polling being wrong in previous elections, including in the U.S. and whatnot as well. You're also talking about those debates, and there's a lot of focus on Mark Carney and his ability or inability to speak French. Is that overblown, or do you think that's a real vulnerability for him?
I do think it's partially overblown. Now,
It's not. It's not. Right now, he doesn't have pushback in that language. Going up against someone that is hostile against you, that flourishes in debate, you can understand how you might become rattled really quickly. He's got a week left, so guaranteed he's practicing nonstop.
French is an extremely important aspect of Canada, and he is going to definitely put his best foot forward. Now,
I bet he will.
I'm not a Quebecer, but every Quebecer that I've spoken to has said the fact that he is improving his French daily is a really good thing, and I think we'll see that continue to happen. Now, most Canadians, specifically even Quebecers, I think are very much focused on the substance. There's a big concern around what is happening with the U.S., and we've been able to see how someone like Mark Carney has been able to de-escalate that. So I think while there'll be folks out there who will say his French is not perfect, sure, go ahead and say that. But I think what matters is just his record, and considering how long he's been in this game and the change he's been able to make, specifically with what's happening in the U.S., I would look at the bigger picture versus solely as debates. Now, debates are going to be an opportunity for someone like Pierre Poilievre to just really sling mud and try to make those sound bites, try to get you in a gotcha moment. But I think the best thing for someone like Mark Carney is to stick to substance and stick to the facts and his track record to date.
Okay, we'll see.
And I will never politicize that word or this situation.
Carney from CBC. The buyback program was a political mess for the previous Liberal government, something your Chief of Staff, Marco Mendicino, would remember. You've recommitted to it today. What makes you think that you can do it differently?
Well, I think first off, let me say this, which is, and I'm Natalie, if I may, look, I'm honored that Natalie has presented herself as a candidate. But she's a person like Bill Blair, like the MPs behind me, who go into public service to get things done, to change things.
So I really had to just pause and rewind because I wanted to listen to that question again.
Carney from CBC. The buyback program was a political mess for the previous Liberal government, something your Chief of Staff, Marco Mendicino, would remember. You've recommitted to it today. What makes you think that you can do it differently?
Well, I think first off, let me say this, which is, and I'm Natalie, if I may, look, I'm honored that Natalie has presented herself as a candidate.
Okay, that's the question I thought I heard, because the buyback program, he made me wonder if I was actually hearing something else, because from what I understand, the buyback program always spoke about firearms. He answered that question almost like he was just trying to promote his staff.
I'm Natalie, if I may, look, I'm honored that Natalie has presented herself as a candidate. But she's a person like Bill Blair, like the MPs behind me.
Yes, I know she's a person. You telling me she's a person like everyone else on stage, what is that? Okay.
Who go into public service to get things done.
Who doesn't go into public service to get things done?
I wonder.
It's not the words. Mark, what's your plan to get the buyback to work in regards to how it functioned last time? The last time, everywhere you looked, everyone reported that it was a colossal failure. CBC said Canada Post refusing to collect banned guns for Ottawa's buyback program. The National Post said the cost have ballooned. Liberal government failed to anticipate difficulty of gun buyback, association says. The way the regulation was drafted, it was rushed through as an order in council and done in such a poor manner, it'll cause issues for the buyback down the road.
No more assault-style weapon would be in circulation.
The Trudeau Liberals had promised to make that dream a reality. In 2020, the government banned 1,500 models of firearms, promising to buy them back from retailers or individual gun owners and destroy them.
So today, we take another big step forward.
While Ottawa has banned the likes of AR-15s, Police Se Souvient and gun experts agree many similar firearms are still available, including ones like the Crypto that is just entering the market.
In 2020, they banned AR-15, but they didn't ban the WK-180 because it was only in small numbers on the market then.
Wes Winkle owns a hunting shop.
Taxpayers should be so upset at this process. And those consumers that are licensed are going to take that same funds, turn around and buy the identical firearm with a different branded make and model.
Public Safety Minister Dominique LeBlanc refuses to be swayed by critics.
So you hear that, it seems like the program largely failed. So when you hear Mark now, when they ask him, what's your plan? And he just says, well, we're here to get things done. If I asked Trudeau, he would say the same thing, wouldn't he?
That's the standard. Not to make an announcement to get things done. I count myself in that camp as well. And as I said in my words, in my prepared remarks, we're not just keeping it, we're reinvigorating and quickly putting it into action. So I'm going to task the Minister of Public Safety, National Security, working alongside, subject to the choices of...
Word salad. Next question.
Hi, Najida Malise, Globe and Mail. My colleagues have a story today about a Liberal candidate's relations with China-friendly groups and a meeting that you also held with a pro-Beijing group. So my question is, why did you meet with this pro-Beijing group, Jiangsu Commerce Council of Canada?
Okay.
And is the party okay with the fact that Liberal candidate Peter Yan has been so close with the Chinese consulate and China-friendly groups, given the public inquiry into foreign interference, says that this is a tactic China uses to exert influence?
Okay, well, I'm sorry, but you can't believe everything you read in the Globe and Mail.
Damn!
Oh, shit.
So in your question, and I guess...
Did he just call them fake news?
Yes, in the article in question in the Globe and Mail.
So what she's talking about in particular, from what I understand anyway, because I think I read that article a little while ago, but there were some pictures of Mark Carney with some representatives of the JCC. So here's the first, and then of course here's the second picture. So when they actually address this and answer it now.
My colleagues have a story today about a Liberal candidate's relations with China-friendly groups and a meeting that you also held with a pro-Beijing group. So my question is, why did you meet with this pro-Beijing group, Jiangsu Commerce Council of Canada? And is the party okay with the fact that Liberal candidate Peter Yan has been so close with the Chinese consulate and China-friendly groups, given the public inquiry into foreign interference, says that this is a tactic China uses to exert influence?
Okay, well, I'm sorry, but you can't believe everything you read in the Globe and Mail. So in your question, and I guess in the article in question, you said I had a meeting with whatever your term was, Beijing group. I've never heard of this group, okay? Never heard of this group. Certainly didn't have a set-up meeting with this group. Full stop. So check your sources before you write things like that, okay? Or your colleagues do. I'm a politician. I go to events where there are hundreds and thousands over the course of a day of different people there. That is not a meeting. If somebody happens to be in the room, takes a picture with me, that's not a meeting, okay? First point. Secondly, with respect to Mr. Yun, this is a person who has served his community for decades. This is a person who's deputy commissioner of the police, okay? A person in discharge of those responsibilities meets with a variety of community groups in the community because that's his job. That's his responsibility. We're proud to have him as a candidate, and I honor his service, including on today.
Either you. Okay.
Catherine.
Catherine Lévesque, National Post. Good morning. People at conservative rallies say they don't necessarily believe national polls. Earlier this morning, conservative leader Pierre Poilievre would not say if he believed them. My question to you, do you believe the polls right now? And do you commit to recognizing the result of the election, whatever it is?
Jeez, of course. Okay. This is Canada. This is Canada. I know there's certain parties that just import all their slogans and their policies from America, but let's not import that nonsense into Canada. We will have, and we are in the midst of a fair and open and free election in Canada. I am very pleased about the very high level of engagement of Canadians across this country in this election process, being informed, coming out to rallies, knocking on doors, making phone calls, discussing around dinner tables. This is exactly what we need, because this is the most consequential election of our lifetime. The only poll that matters is the poll that has started with advanced polling, but the poll that happens on Election Day, the votes of Canadians. And I and my colleagues are focused on doing everything we can to earn that trust. But certainly, and it goes back maybe to the question about the platform, that ensuring that Canadians, the media, stakeholders, Canadians themselves are fully informed about what we're going to do. We're not just going to stand up to Donald Trump and get the best deal for Canada, although we will do that. We're the only ones who. But we're going to build this country, and we're going to protect Canadians while we do it.
The only problem that I actually see with these polls is it's riding so high off the annexation of Canada talks. Everyone in Canada united together because they all felt like they had a common attacker. As things now have settled, you really don't hear any more talks about the 51st state. You don't hear any talks about Governor Trudeau or Governor Carney or potential Governor Poilievre. So I think Canadians in large might realize that those talks are going to come again, so who is best suited to defend them against the level of hostility that might come their way? Both sides, and I already said this is a two-person race, have very similar goals in terms of expanding their markets. This is something they've needed to do. Both as well, I think, believe that they need to expand their military. Also, you need a surefire plan to bring back investment. You also need to build houses. Not just make sure everyone has housing, but for the next generation coming, they need to see that there's some kind of surefire plan that they can look forward to. Okay, so let's wrap this up.
En ce qui concerne la situation of these cars. Thank you.
Last question.
We'll have time for one last quick question.
Thanks, Mr. Carney. Marco Vigliati, Politics. As we mentioned, we're here in Brampton, where the average price of a home has nearly doubled in the 10 years of the Liberal government's been in power. The number of homes built over the past year has failed to meet the provincial target by, I believe, half. We've also seen the same thing happen in Caledon and Mississauga. Do you believe that this Liberal government has failed residents of the region by not encouraging or not spurring home construction? And how can you convince residents that things will be different under your leadership?
Good question.
Okay, so thank you very much for the question. It's a fundamental issue here in Brampton, as you say, Caledon, across this province, across this country. I've been Prime Minister for just under 4 weeks, and I brought in the most and announced in the past week the most comprehensive and ambitious housing strategy the country has seen since the Second World War, although I will argue that it's even more ambitious than the post-war build. We are looking to double. We intend to double the rate of home construction from less to about 500,000 units. We're going to do that with a Made in Canada strategy, which means that we're going to use Canadian mass timber. We're going to use Canadian technology for these homes. We are going to leverage the power of the federal government in order to drive that construction with a new entity called Build Canada Homes, which will focus itself on deeply affordable homes, okay? And it will help drive that industry. And then we will rely on the private sector to build more broadly, providing up to $25 billion of financing for the private sector. At the same time, we will attack high development charges. We are cutting them. We're committing to cut them in half for the next 5 years. And at the same time, we're going to young families, first-time buyers here in Brampton, across the country, and saying we are removing GST on new homes. So when you add that together, you're looking at up to 50,000.
Hold on. Just give me 1 second. 'Cause I said I've been listening to Pierre's speeches.
I'm announcing that a new Conservative government will put Canada first by taking GST, the federal sales tax, off of all homes under $1.3 million. We will axe the tax so that every Canadian can buy a new home tax-free. This will
Are they cheating off each other?
mean a savings of up to $65,000 on a new home, or $3,000 less in annualized mortgage payments.
Good Lord.
Same time, we will attack high development charges. We are cutting them, we're committing to cut them in half for the next 5 years. And at the same time, we're going to young families, first-time buyers here in Brampton, across the country, and saying we are removing GST on new homes. So when you add that together, you're looking at up to $50,000 off the cost of a new home. You're looking at building new homes somewhere between 20.
I'm done. Somebody's cheating off of someone's test. Someone's cheating off someone's test. Y'all tell me who. Listen, that's all I got for now. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like, and I will see you again on the next one. Be easy, y'all.